Hey, this is Patrick, the owner of Geochron, and I know hurricane season is on the way here in 2024. And so, one of the guys who was the biggest advisor for me in putting together the premium weather layer that we're going to refer to later on was Billy Throrlborn, and he is a certified weather observer for NOAA. I visited him when back in South Carolina about 2 years ago as one of my 48 customers in 48 states, and just rode up to a treasure house of information for weather. And as hurricane season comes up, I just wanted to chat with him a little bit today about how to use the Geochron and his own experience in forecasting and tracking geochrons throughout his life, because he's been doing it for a long time, and then also what we can expect for the upcoming season. So, Billy, where do we find you today?
Well, I'm Billy Throrlborn. I'm a certified weather observer with the National Weather Service Weather Forecast Office, which is pretty much ground zero of any hurricane season.
Well, I was reading an article this morning which brought this all to mind in that the magazine I was reading pointed out that sea temperatures in the development zone for these areas are higher than they normally are. And you can see here in this graph for 2024, it looks like that they might eclipse the highest ever. Tell me what the development zone is and what these temperatures mean for the hurricane season.
Well, the temperatures, really and truly, what the temperatures do, it's the temperatures of the sea surface at the time are basically fuel, and that's going to create an extreme evaporation event, which is going to create storms. These
Yeah.
sea surface temperatures are the fuel for the fire.
We had a particularly active hurricane season last year. You can see this is a screenshot from August 30th of 2023 on my Geochron here in the studio.
Mhm.
And as I look at that, I can zoom in here. Now, there actually in this photo is this image is showing three typhoons and two hurricanes and then one major storm that is out in the North Atlantic Ocean. And I think I have another picture of what that looks like in for August 30th. This is a few days later when those two hurricanes had developed. One turned eastward and one rammed right into where you are right now, which is in Aiken, South Carolina. Is that right?
That is Hurricane Idalia,
Yeah.
and it did significant damage in the Big Bend, Florida area.
So walk us through some of the layers that we're looking at here.
Okay, uh, active layer list that I use 24/7.
Hmm.
And when I go into what I call as what a weather forecaster calls storm mode, should I say, we'll say a hurricane does form in the Atlantic and it's moving northwest. Then I go into the storm mode and I take and I turn off a lot of the earthquake, ham radio, and ISS. I turn those off because they're going to take up a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I do.
Right.
Then I go in and I zoom to the East Coast and I zoomed the East Coast topographic map.
There it is. I've got it right here.
I love topographic.
Okay.
Once I do that, then I'll go into the advanced weather, premium advanced weather, and I'll turn on the the radar, active radar.
Okay.
I turn on storm tracking, and if you go to the gear icon in storm tracking, I click the tropical legend. I turn that on,
Okay. Got it.
and that legend, it gives you all of the different symbols of the storm.
And you could see that down above the time readout in the lower left-hand corner
That's
of
correct.
the map right
That's
now.
good. Then I go to what I use a lot in storm tracking and forecasting is the water vapor or satellite cloud vapor layer. I turn that on.
Okay, got it.
I turn that on and use it because that indicates that layer is an indication of water vapor in the atmosphere. And the dark red to black colors indicate very dry continental air.
Yeah.
The blue and green are your moisture laden air from the storms that you see on the map.
Right.
In a hurricane structure, you're going to have the blue and greens in a very tight, compact, symmetrical formation, and that's just because of the storm structure of itself.
Yes.
And you'll be able to see that on several different maps using the cloud water vapor, and then you could also use the forecast tracking, the advanced the radar time lapse. I use those layers,
Yes.
and you can see what's happened. You got a cold front that just went through our region. It's located in northern Florida. That's brought in a bunch of dry air
Mm-hmm.
to our region in South Carolina
So I'm showing
for this
here
time of year.
the temperature profile right now, and you can see the
And
legend on the right hand
that's your
corner.
surface sea surface temperature profile, which is
Yeah.
known as SST,
Okay.
and you can see how hot it is in the Gulf of Mexico. These temperatures that you see right now are more prevalent for August, September, and not
Hmm.
this time of year.
I'm showing currents right now. You could see one is coming up into the Gulf of Mexico and then
Yes,
spooling
sir.
around Florida. Is this the current you're talking about? That current?
Yes, the stream that's down, the current that's down south of Florida, that's your Florida Strait. That is your
Okay.
Gulf Stream that goes up the tip of Florida all the way up to New York.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's
Gotcha.
bringing hot water, warm, abnormally warm water further north.
But you could see that where the currents were, the water is warmer, which speaks to what you're saying a lot. It's transporting warm and warmer water into these areas, and then I always love to watch the gradient off of starting around about Delaware and then moving
Hmm.
across over east, and that's a huge temperature gradient. And I think that's where they do a lot of fishing, right? Because fish love it in that green zone. Yeah,
Yes, that's correct. That's the some of the best fishing in the world is just east of Massachusetts.
yeah, gotcha, gotcha. All right, turning that off. What are the other layers that you're looking at there? Let's see. I go back to.
We could go to what I do is turn off those layers and go into satellite or what do they call it? Geocolor, satellite geocolor.
Gotcha.
I could use that every now and then. And then the infrared. The
Uh,
infrared, satellite infrared is going to give you the cooler cloud tops, which are going to be the higher cloud tops.
and of course, this is real time. This isn't hurricane season, but this is what's happening in the
Right.
world right now. And then we also are seeing wind direction. Tell me about that.
Wind direction is a very good tool to use when an upcoming hurricane advances in your region.
Yeah.
It will tell you or give you an idea when you can expect high winds coming in your area.
Great. Well, with hurricane season coming up, um, yeah. Now, I don't live in that part of the country, but I know that you do, and that you were
Yes,
in Gulfport, Mississippi when Hurricane Katrina came through. You've been doing this weather observation since 1988. And what was the storm surge in Katrina?
the storm surge in Gulfport and Biloxi, Mississippi was a record 28 feet above natural ground.
I can't imagine. No wonder.
That has not that has not that has not been that record has not been surpassed. 3 weeks after the storm, I got to go down the beach highway in Gulfport, and the bottom 2 stories of each building was completely gutted out, except for the foundations. And every year we go through this. We hear every year of people that do not heed the evacuation warnings and they say, no, I'm going to stay home and take care of my property, I get that. But storm surge and the weight of water is a force to be reckoned with.
In the months prior to Hurricane Katrina, the conditions for in the development zone for hurricanes were not as dramatic as they are right now. Is that true?
Well, that is slightly true, but really that time in August is when the Gulf of Mexico gets the warmest
Yeah.
because it takes time for the sun angle to rise and heat water. It
Hmm.
takes time for water to cool down because this water obviously has a larger surface area. And it takes time for, I mean, the sun angle starts coming up in January. By August, it's the sun angle's coming down and the water is heated up from August to September, and that's perfect fuel for the fire.
All right. So I've been talking to Billy Throrlborn, who is a certified weather observer for the National Weather Service, and since 1988, right?
Yes, sir.
That's right. When I visited you in South Carolina, you had tens of thousands of dollars of weather equipment in your backyard.
Yes,
And
sir.
you showed me logs and logs and logs of stuff that you've been keeping for decades to track the weather. We sure appreciate
I
you talking to us about the hurricane season coming up.
I keep track with daily raw data of current of the daily weather conditions. I've been
Yeah.
doing it since January 2017.
All right. So that's it. This is Patrick with Geochron with Billy, and good luck on the upcoming hurricane season. Watch it on
I'm
Geochron.
going to need it. Y'all have a great day.